No pressure, Yana.
Thanks, Chris.
It always makes it
No pressure, yes. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Really happy to present. Today, we're gonna talk with you about product development and MVP testing. Nadia, my brilliant collaborator, brilliant QA powerhouse, and myself, we're delivering this talk together. So my part will be the first part, and the second part will be hers. So today we're going to talk about Founder's Guide to building the right scene. That's my part, and Nadia's part will be building the scene right. So just to understand, maybe you can give some hands. How many of you are founders here? That's not bad. How many of you are founders of digital products? Okay. Any product managers? All right, thank you. Thanks so much. You're in the right place. So, if you're a founder, you probably have a great idea. You have it. Maybe you already analyzed your market. Maybe you already drafted and written your business plan. And so now what? Now comes the hard part. How do you decide what to build first? How do you decide how to avoid wasting resources? Because obviously, probably nobody wants to build something that nobody else wants, right? So that's what I'm going to talk about today. And now I'm going to tell you why I'm the right person to talk about. That's me. My name is Yana Varankova. My background is in psychology and human behavior. I'm a UX strategist. I call my approach ecosystem-led UX strategy. What I mean by that is that, from my experience, user experience is something really crucial, and it's not one man's job. So it's not only me who just arrives and says, hey, this is how you fix your user experience. This is what will make your product great. No, from my experience, it's really about cross-collaboration, really all people in your product, in your company, and even if you're a one-man band, you need to think of all sorts of parts of your business as an ecosystem. So if you're not a one-man band, it will include product managers, your developers, your QA engineers, marketing, PR, your customer support. That's really important. So every member of your team is responsible for delivering good user experience. And this experience is the entire journey you take your user upon. So your user starts their journey by clicking on your ad, for example, or they land on your landing page, and then you guide your user through your onboarding, through your product, through your support, customer support, through your marketing emails, whatever. And that's how they become your true fan. That's how they became your biggest advocates. User experience is responsible for orchestrating this entire journey, making it cohesive, making sure that at every point you deliver your business, your enterprise, you deliver the value that you promised, right? So where do you start? You start with building your MVP. That's the first thing you build. Your MVP is the first kind of tangible thing that your customer or your user can feel. This is the first piece of promise you deliver of something bigger that you plan to build for them later. So this thing, this MVP, is what we are going to talk about today. Getting it right is really important, because if you can deliver this first promise and make your user happy, that's how you basically de-risk the entire venture. Right, you don't want to fail right from the start. This is a QR code to my LinkedIn if you want to connect. Very happy to connect. So first things first, what is an MVP?
I'm sorry, can you put
the
QR code on it? Yeah, sorry.
No worries.
Thank you.
No worries. What is an MVP exactly? So We already delivered this talk with Nadia recently at Heriot-Watt University for their Global Innovation Challenge. And this slide wasn't there. I edited it for this presentation. You know why? Because we spent 90 minutes teaching founders and aspiring founders how to build their MVP. And after that, people came to us asking what that is. Especially people who are into sports, they came to us and it's like, I know that MVP is the most valuable player. And I was like, yes, but not in our context. So what I'm talking about is not most valuable player. What we'll be talking about is the minimum viable product, right? So you can see there's a tiny sprout sprouting in a digital environment, kind of. So this is how you can think of an MVP. So the goal of the MVP is to learn the most by building the least. So think of the efficiency and gaining critical insights with the minimum investment. So this is if you heard about this startup rule, make mistakes often and make them fast. So this is exactly about your MVP. So how do you approach building it? We start with the thing that's called user needs. User needs is something that you presumably explored before. So if you approach building the product in the right way, you probably did some research. You probably did some market research or user research, and you spotted the pain. So this pain, this problem that your target audience has. So for example, you defined your target audience, you know who's your potential client, who's your customer, and you know what kind of problems they have, what kind of pains they have. So this would be user needs. These are the problems. Next thing you do is you define the solution. That's your brilliant idea. You know the pain. You know how to solve this pain. So that's going to be your function later on. And then from user stories, you create. User stories are your actions. User stories are your building blocks from which you're gonna slowly build your product brick by brick. So user story has a certain format. It's a sentence that you build, and it has 3 components. So number 1 is your user's role. For example, if you build something for students, your user will be student, ambitious student, I don't know, lazy student, whatever student. The second part is the task they want to perform, and the third part is the goal they want to achieve. Right? So, for example, we're gonna be talking about coffee a lot tonight. Not really relevant for the evening, but relevant every morning still. So. Imagine the problem. I'm going to be talking about myself. For example, I'm always late. I need to commute every morning, and I'm always running late. I hate waiting in the coffee shop queue. So that's my pain. That's my problem. My role is I'm a busy commuter, or I'm a late commuter. So the solution that somebody can suggest is you can create an app. And I can order my coffee in advance, pay for it in advance. The only thing I need to do when I'm in a rush, I just swing by a coffee shop, I grab my coffee cup, and I go. So user story in this case would be, as a busy commuter, that's my role. I want to order my coffee ahead. That's the task, so that I can skip the queue. Right? Here's another example, not coffee related. As a busy parent, I want to quickly order groceries online so that I can save time for my family. So you can see that the role here is a parent, busy parent, the problem that they have, the pain that they have, is that they don't spend enough time with their family, so they want to have more time. And you empathize your user, your customer. You're like, how can I help them? What solution I can provide? So you can order groceries online, so they don't have to spend 3 hours going to Lidl or something. Right. So you have the list of your user stories. It can be a lot, depending on how well you do your homework, you do your research. You can discover a long list of problems. You can have 20, for example. So you have your 20 user stories that you think you want to build in your product. And that's kind of a pile. It's just a pile. You have them, so how do you arrange them? How do you sort them? Again, there is an existing tool. It's a very popular framework. It's called user journey mapping. So that's a map. It's a way to lay out the entire user journey with your product, and it has a solid structure. You just need to know the elements of this map, and you can easily kind of sort all the user stories that you came up with during using this map. So how do you build this map? Your first step is your activities. So you can see that's the very top, the biggest squares there, called activities. So you start with them. You can think of them as folders, as kind of a root folders. It's a very, very basic, very high level function. For example, for our coffee example, there will be order coffee. That's it, right? So it would be like an ended sequence of actions that would lead towards like a goal of your user. If you're building e-commerce, for example, your high-level activity can be by product. That's it. That's as easy as that. Step 2. So you have your activities as the very top level. Now step 2 is you create the backbone. So the backbone goes right under the high-level activities. These are main user steps that your user will take when they go through this high-level activity. You build them. It's a journey. Like you build this narrative. You map them from left to right. For example, if we're building our coffee app, your steps would be, so for example, this high-level activity in the middle would be order coffee, and the backbone steps would be number 1, browse the menu, number 2, customize your order, number 3, checkout. 3 simple steps, nice and clear. If you build in e-commerce, you build in a shop, for example, where people can buy clothes online. Your steps would be search a product that you want to buy, a t-shirt or whatever. Then you view your product, you look at the reviews and pictures, and then step 3 would be add to cart, and then pay. Right? So next step number 3 is you map the stories. So you have your activities, high-level activities, you want to order coffee, you have your steps, browse, select, checkout, and then you map underneath them, you map the stories. You place them vertically under each step. These stories, they will represent your features, the features of your future product. So, for example, if we're talking about coffee example, under customize your order, you will map the stories like choose the size of your drink, or select milk type, or add sugar, for example, right? Depending on which stage you are, how big your product is. For the e-commerce example, we can take a step, view product, and under this step, the options might be see multiple photos, right? When you decide which products you want to buy, you want to have some comparison, so you can add features, add multiple photos, or add reviews, and you can read the reviews. Right. So next step, you have your map ready, you have your activities, you have steps that your users make, you map specific little details, little actions underneath. The next thing that you do is that you arrange stories by importance. So you put the previous step, you just put them there. You just put every ideas that you have about how you want to customize, how your users would want to customize their drink. Now, you start prioritizing them. You decide, all right, the most important thing is probably being able to pick the size of your drink. Or if you think about allergies and stuff, you need to, what was that? You need to think about them being able to select different milk types, right? So you think of, okay, what is the most important thing? What is the like must-have features? And then you go, okay, this can be done a bit later or next, this can be done later or next, and then you prioritize like that. So top, must-have, bottom, least priority. You have that, you have everything prioritized, and then you draw the line. So you can see here, these are your stories. This is just a backbone. This line divides your backbone from your user stories. You prioritize them, and then you draw the line where you decide that, all right, this is going to be your MVP. So everything that's above the line, that's your MVP. Everything that's below the line, it's your, so if we consider MVP is like your release 1, so this little paper kind of shows that that's your release 1, that's the feature list. Everything that's below, it's going to be your release 2, and then you can draw another line, it's going to be your release 3, your release 4, and so on. Right, so that's how you do it. What makes an MVP viable, right? So why is it called like that? So your MVP should be usable version. Your MVP should deliver the entire flow. You should not build something that that your users can't use entirely. So if you look at the transportation example, the picture on the right shows that everything that we see there, like you see skateboard, bicycle, motorbike, car, they all allow you getting somewhere. Yeah, it's very simple one when it's a skateboard, but it does the job, right? Or it's a scooter or something. And then you iterate, and then you grow, and then you learn, and then you build upon that. So bicycle also allows you getting somewhere, but like maybe a bit more comfort, and so on. Whereas when you provide users with just like a wheel or something, they won't be able to do anything. If we get back to this coffee example, if you give them choosing syrup option, but they won't be able to order coffee, that's going to be useless, right? Right. So MVP delivers, or well, any release you do after MVP as well, it delivers the complete task flow. So for our coffee example, our kind of skateboard for our coffee app, our first coffee MVP might only include browsing menu. You see the list of drinks, you see the prices, you pay, that's it, you grab your coffee. That's going to be as simple as that, right? Nothing fancy. No customization yet. You can't decide the size, the milk, the sugar, whatever. But this journey is still a journey, and it delivers the promise that you made your user. The promise was caffeine in the morning will be delivered quickly. So the job is done. Your user needs are satisfied, you have your happy customer, you build that first trust because they got what they want. So you can see the happy face. Right? So that was it with the theoretical part, with the concept of user journey mapping, user stories. Now I'm going to guide you with no more coffee. I'm going to guide you through another example, another little case study. So let's take an example of a banking app. It's going to be a banking app for specifically designed for Gen Z students. We call it Vault. So the point is that it's specifically tailored to students' needs. We know that they are on a budget. We know that probably for them, splitting the bill function would be important. Sharing function could be important. Also, since they are on the budget, they might have a little financial anxiety. They're young. They don't know yet how to manage their money properly. They might accidentally party too hard and go in debt or something. It's been a while, so I don't remember, but I think it was like that. So, for example, our missions would be, for our MVP, would be simplify budgeting for students and reduce financial anxiety. Again, you did your research, you talked to students, you didn't do it through ChatGPT, please don't do it, please don't create your personas through AI. You can guess, but please talk to users instead. Any research is always better than no research at all. You can do however you want it, however you're able. It doesn't have to be fancy. There's always a way to do some research. You can talk to people outside. You can, like, if you
asked everybody that's walked by in the last 5 minutes and got good use of it.
Yeah, exactly. It can be like it's called like guerrilla research. You just, if you develop in the coffee shop app, you just go to a coffee shop and like grab people there. Maybe you can buy them coffee, and they will talk to you for 15 minutes and tell you everything about their pains. So yeah, please do research. You can do a little survey. If you have a pool, for example, you have the access to community of your target audience, like you're with them in a Reddit or in Discord or whatever WhatsApp group you have. Throw a little survey, 1-2 questions. Again, any research is better than no research at all. So you know your target audience very well. You empathize with the students. For some reason you like them and you want to help them, or you just see this market gap where you think that you can build something that doesn't exist yet, and that will cover exactly the pain that your students have. Yes, that was exactly what I was talking about. So when you don't have to read the text, it doesn't matter much. It's just the format. This artifact is called persona. It's another part of a design thinking process. So you have your persona. That's what you usually do nowadays with AI. Please don't do that. You have your Alex, the ambitious student. We base this persona on something. You can, if you don't want to do your own research, take some market reports, take some reliable source of data that you can trust. And then, how do you do that? You say a few words. For example, who is Alex, right? Alex is a 22-year-old second-year student at University of Edinburgh, studying marketing. Again, it should be meaningful for you, for what you're building. You shouldn't just put every little intimate detail about Alex's life. You need to put only relevant stuff. For example, for your project, for a student app, relevant stuff would be probably that Alex lives in a shared flat, right, with 2 friends, works 15 hours per week. So these are facts that you will use in your product. For example, that tells you that Alex would need to share his expenses, like they would need to have some shared vault or something. Also, we know that he will have some income, either from his part-time job or from his parents, doesn't matter much. So you put in your persona the facts that really mean something to your product. We also know that Alex is tech savvy. Would be weird if he's not, but we're building an app, so this is an important thing to understand, right? That, yeah, the guy is not against all this stuff. He's also ambitious, that's why probably he works part-time. He's social, but he often feels stretched between the studies, work, and social life. So then we also, while we did our research, we looked at their financial goals and needs. So our Alex, ambitious student, he wants to be in control and less anxious about money week to week, because again, they don't have the skills of budgeting yet, for example. So this is something that Alex would like to learn. They want to understand spending without using complicated spreadsheet. They want to save up for a trip with friends next summer, so this kind of stuff. We also need to map their pains and frustrations. Again, we need that to understand user needs, to understand what user stories we build, to understand which features we build first for our MVP. So for example, Alex might have a pain, the end of month panic when their account balance is surprisingly low, right? So, or it can be middle month panic. At some point, Alex starts panicking because suddenly he realizes that he cannot pay the rent or something. What else? Losing track of small purchases. Yeah, for example, if Alex gets carried away, we can suggest a feature that will remind Alex or like limit him in how much he spends in pubs, for example, something like that. Just imagining things. You can also put some information about what kind of tech and brand Alex prefers. Some of this information you would need for your positioning in marketing. For example, you must know absolutely where your customers are so that you are where your customers. For example, if we know that your student uses TikTok, you should be on TikTok, right? Your marketing, all your influencing efforts should go there, or they're on Instagram or whatever. We also know that like Alex and many of his friends, for example, what kind of competitors they use, right? Because again, somebody from our last talk, they were like, why do we need to build Vault if there's Revolut? What a stupid example, right? So they might, like, it would be difficult for you because if Alex and all his friends, they use Revolut, like, why do they need something new, right? How does it make it life easier? So you would need to think of it. You would also probably want to be inspired by how they're designed, like to use it for your mood boards or something. Right, you need to understand what kind of lifestyle they have, what kind of purchases they would most likely do. Like, for example, Deliveroo, they have a subscription on Spotify, and they use Amazon Prime student subscription. Right? So this persona helps you understand who you're building for. Ideally, like especially if you're in a big company, it's nice if every department they have their persona on every wall. That would be lovely. That would be an ideal world for me. Right. So what's next? So you have imagine you've written down your user stories backlog. So you have like 20 of them, for example. You figure out, based on your research again, based on understanding Alex, you know that there are some core banking features that you want to implement, obviously, because it's because they need to receive money and they need to pay. They need to have some budgeting and saving. They want to have some social features. So you have a list of this backlog that you have, and then you decide. Right, you decide which of them are going to be in your MVP. And then you might realize, so for example, your MVP slice would include getting started, basic sign up and login. It would include core banking. Alex would be able to see balance, see transactions, and then they will have to have safe to spend balance as your kind of unique sales proposition, your USP, right? That's what's going to make you different from Revolut. That's why your banking app would be better, because Alex would see this as a main element of your user interface. Every time they open an app, doesn't matter how drunk they are, they're like, all right, I can still spend like 240 quid until the end of this month, right? That's it. If you want to go deeper, because I acknowledge that this concept of user story mapping is quite visual. It's a framework, so I really recommend Nielsen Norman Group for everyone who wants to understand more about user experience. This is a very reliable resource. they are fathers of user experience. So if you need to find the only source of truth, I'd recommend going there. So these are two resources that I recommend. One is a little video. It's called Why MVP, Why It Isn't Always Release 1. They will guide you through a bit more detail of what I was talking about today. And then the other one is an actual article that will just explain you the whole concept once again, maybe with more examples. Right? That's me, that's my part. So you know what to build, hopefully right now. But next part of the process is how do you build it in the right way. Nadia will tell you all about this, but probably after the break, right, Alex?
Yeah, let maybe give some time for the questions, guys, if you have some questions to you first, and then we can have 10 minutes break and come back to the second part. Yeah, please.
Who's doing it?
Hi. Sorry, that was actually really insightful.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Because we have
I mean, I don't know if this is even. I'm sure.
no, thank you. That's for recorded for us.
Oh, sorry. Okay, no worries at all. Sorry, no. Thank you very much for that.
I mean, this is obviously in reference to my own situation because we are trying to approach that MVP stage.
Oh, lovely.
I mean, just to give a brief background on where we are right now. So we're basically a physiotherapy tech platform.
Oh, cool.
And we're trying to increase patient adherence outside of the clinic, ultimately trying to tackle the goal of the £19.3 billion that's lost to the UK economy every single year.
You rehearsed your pitch.
Sorry?
You rehearsed your pitch well.
I pitched today, so it's all in my frontal lobe. I did, yeah, through like Scottish Edge. So I think, so in terms of actual traction, so we've had conversations with investors and we are at the pre-seed stage. We are applying for grant funding, all that's in movement right now. We've spoken to VC investors. So my question is basically, so at what stage and what sort of validation do you think, in your opinion, obviously I know that you're not an investor, but what sort of validation would you need to be at that MVP stage? Like, how much data do you need to get back? We have kind of three sort of main verticals, which is the patient, the clinics, and the corporate health insurers that we're targeting for scale. But what sort of, I'm happy to grab you at the end because it's quite a long-winded story, obviously. But if obviously you can refer to the coffee example, but like at what stage can you confidently go into a room with investors and say that this is our MVP, and how much what does validation look like so that you can say that to them confidently?
Yeah, thanks. That's a brilliant question, and it tells that you're in it already, so you're asking exactly the right questions, because
it's been a long day.
before you start meeting investors, you don't think of this kind of stuff. So that you reach the certain point where you do. So yes, I'm definitely not an investor. Second thing about validation, Nadia will tell you all about it in a second. What I can tell you is that I talk to investors, because that's also important for me to understand, like exactly what you're asking about. I talk to, for example, our archangels, and I ask them what kind of, exactly the same question. What kind of validation you want to see, right? So that I understand when I work with founders, so that I kind of guide them in the right direction. So this is exactly what you need to have on paper, right? To be able to confidently pitch it to your investors. So what they told me is that they all want traction, obviously, because that's what it shows. It shows that you gain the trust, right? You deliver this first tiny value, tiny promise of that is a part of your bigger future. So you might have a bigger promise, but you're already delivering something, because traction shows that you are already providing something that attracts people, right?
Yeah.
So that's what two things they told me. One thing was about having some traction. Before that, they don't even talk to you. And the second thing I know they talk with industry experts, so they need to understand, like if they know nothing about physio, for example, they would go to somebody who knows and like ask them. Again, I would recommend provide as much research data as you could. For example, if you talk to people, that's super valuable. If you manage to have like, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 interviews, and these interviews, they allowed you to build this persona. It shows them that you understand. So it's a bit different from market, SAM, TAM and stuff. It means that you understand your customer really well. You understand their pains. So that's what you can show. Mm-hmm. If we're talking about something that you already have, like you have your little like MVP, you have your first version, you have like an app, right? A product. Yeah. What you can also do is you can do usability testing. So this is something, this is not a discovery, so this is like a discovery research. You're probing, you're seeking for these problems, for this hair on fire problem. If you have traction, it means that you kind of cover this hair on fire problem. When you have some interface already, yes, you can do usability tests, and also like have a couple of people form it as a proper like document. You can Google the templates. That's where like internet and AI can help you. How does usability test research template look like? And just sit with your users, give them all the same tasks. For example, how would you order coffee? How would you look for right t-shirt size? And you just rigorously mark down, okay, like 3 people out of 5 were able to do that, or like stuff like that.
Sorry, just last thing. So like I said, there's kind of 3 verticals. With the clinics, we have 7 that are interested in looking at our prototype. With the insurers, we've reached corporate health providers. We've reached out to one, like Nuffield Health. They're interested in meeting with us and looking at what we've built. We've got nothing on the patient side. Like I said, I pitched today and we got grilled on that, and but that's happening next month. So, like you said, 5, 6, 7, use cases. Do you think if we, in your opinion, again, I said I'm happy to talk about this. Sorry for hogging the mic,
no worries. We have time.
In your opinion, if we have that, 5, 6, 7 conversations across each vertical, then we can start kind of working with that and presenting to investors.
Yeah, because user interviews, unlike market research, user research is less about quantity and more about depth. Yeah. So that's why you don't need 200 interviewees. You need like 5, 6, 7. Your aim is to hit the saturation point. If you start seeing patterns, that's where you stop. If like you decided you'd go with like 7 to 10 people, if all 7 people told you the same thing, that means that you can stop there and can be quite confident. What's important to say is that you need to be consistent with whom you're talking to. You need to talk to, like if you're pitching to investors in the UK and you're targeting UK market, all your participants should be from UK, for example. You can't just talk to, I don't know, digital nomads from Indonesia or something. So you need to be... Just an example I thought of today.
My clinical advisor's been in Bali for the last month. I'm raging.
Yeah.
She knew that. Yeah. They were doing the research on the beach.
Yeah, exactly.
It was absolutely random example. My point is that you should be consistent. Like if you need to define what kind of problem you want to talk about them, because like if you talk to 10 people about different sort of problems they have, you have like 3 people with back problems, 3 people with, I don't know, injuries, 3 people with something else, that won't be like valid, because it won't be consistent enough. So you should be well informed of like what kind of cohort you want to have. It's fine if you want to research into several kind of directions. You want to talk to people who have back pains.
Yeah, we already have that kind of laid out, and that's what we're trying to validate. But my main question was on like how much validation do you need, and that's been great. Like, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, happy. Thank you.
Yeah, fantastic.
Thanks. Great question.
Cheers. Thank you.
Who's next, guys?
Hello. Thanks for this wonderful speech.
Thank you.
Excited for the second part.
Sweetest remain.
As a more of a technical founder, I often get too excited to start building things without prior validation.
Yes.
Market research thing is something I find quite tedious to do, and when you've got a hammer, everything you see everything as a nail, with the hammer in this case being tools like Replit, for example.
Like what? Sorry.
Like Replit and tools that assist you with building MVPs, like Lovable as well.
Okay, got it.
So my question is. Say I'm building an app like in the slides, Vault. Would having a strong competitor like Revolut be enough of a validation to warrant building MVP? In your opinion?
Sorry. So you're asking if the fact that people use Revolut most likely lead to them using your app. Do I understand correctly?
When you're building a digital product and you've got a strong competitor who's profitable, would that be enough of a market validation for the idea?
Well, if it's just that, it probably won't be enough. You need to show how you're going to be different. Because again, if all people use Revolut, then why do you need to build another one? Again, I need to give a caveat. I'm not a market researcher, so I'm not really knowledgeable about like SAM, TAM, and stuff that you pitch to investors when you do your market research. I'm more on the user research part. But from my perspective, I would say you start with market research, and then you try to understand what else you can give to your users, like what kind of pains are still uncovered, and that can be your USP, right? If that makes sense, my answer in your question.
Yeah.
Yana, could I help here a minute? Just because
go for it. Go for it, Jay.
Can I help both of you? I think the singly most important thing anybody in this room, if they're building a product, has to do is understand the why. And what you're describing is not a why. It's why does the product have to exist? And the why is really, really tricky. I've been in tech over 30 years, worked for IBM, worked for lots of large companies. And every single product I've ever seen that fails is because nobody understands the why. They think they do, they don't. What you usually get given is a symptom or an actual solution. So if you take your platform, the question is, why does it have to exist? Yeah. Why does it solve the problem better than anything that already exists today? Just because a banking app already exists is literally, it doesn't answer the why. So no, my advice would be, you have to understand the why, or you're just building tech because you like tech. Trust me, I get it. You know, I'm weird. I don't really like shiny things. I've been a programmer, I've been an architect, I've been many things. I like solving complex problems. But the why is really tricky. You imagine when you're a child and you're sitting in the back of the car and you ask the parents why, and they answer the question. You go, why? And the answer, you've got to get, it is the absolute epicenter of why your product has to exist and what it actually solves. And if you do not understand that, and you know, if you're going to get investment, they will grill the hell out of you. There's an amazing guy, if anybody wants to go to eCorner at EFI on a Wednesday. There's an amazing gentleman there called David Dybel, who is brilliant at the storytelling required to actually get funding, and it always goes down to the why. That's where you have to start. If you do not understand the why, don't even bother writing any code. You're wasting your time. And please don't talk to me about vibe coding. I'm an old-fashioned engineer.
What's it gone in the?
It's the word of the year, and it offends every sensibility I've ever had. But that's my primary advice. All of you, if you're going to build a product, really, really, really understand the why. And that involves also running your idea past lots and lots of different people, and people who aren't in your industry. You know, they may just have a bad back, they might not, but it's like, why would I use your app rather than going to somewhere else? And if you can answer all of those questions, then it's got value.
I'd love to have a chat with you, by the way, after.
We can.
Jay, sold yourself.
I can add a few comments like about banking app, for example. It probably makes sense to make an app, like even like if the Revolut already exists. However, like you probably need to have some niche group of people that will probably need something specific that maybe like Revolut app doesn't have, or maybe you have access to like government, or maybe like you have access to somehow integrate taxes part with it, or maybe like sole traders will love your app because you have like direct integration with HMRC or something like that, or maybe like you don't like you have access to some market like Indonesia or like something where Revolut can't enter for some specific reason, and because you have this particular maybe technical or jurisdiction ability to do that, then maybe like it makes sense literally to copy paste Revolut but make it slightly different, and because you have this kind of like benefit to access this market, you can then make it greater than like Revolut in some particular cases. But if you just gonna go and like direct the same people, if I am already using Revolut and you just come to me and say like try to use my app, it's better, I don't really care about that like at all. Like Revolut solves like 99% of my problems. If like you just try to give me your app because like it's different, like I guess overall it doesn't work like that.
That makes sense.
More questions?
Yeah, what was Jay talking about is I can recommend watching Simon Sinek, Start With Why.
Oh, yeah.
His why is slightly different. His is more of an emotional why. Mine's a very, what does it solve? Rather than why it exists.
So you just teased your next talk here.
Sorry.
Okay, good. I guess
let's
stop here. Thank you for your talk.
Thank you.
Really
Thank you so much.
Thank you.